As a Muslim e-commerce advertiser myself, I, alhamdulillah, have the pleasure and honor of helping Muslim brand owners worldwide grow through paid advertising. And this video is going to be a breakdown of what you, as a brother or sister that owns a brand selling and serving other Muslims, needs to focus on if you want to see success with your advertising in 2025. Because reality is that it's only approximately about 15% of Muslim brand owners that actually do well with their advertising, which obviously is incredibly disturbing for me to see as a Muslim e-commerce advertiser. So this video is going to showcase you what you need to focus on and where you have the most leverage to actually drive impactful revenue from your advertising channels. Now, in all transparency, I'm located here in Denmark, Scandinavia, so I have two sides of my firm. On one side of my firm, I'm helping Scandinavian brands, and on the other side of my firm, I'm helping Muslim brand owners. So this video and the material that you're going to watch throughout this video is material that I have made for the Scandinavian brands that I'm working with. Nonetheless, it's still highly relevant for you as a brother or sister because I use the same fundamentals and the same marketing principles. Obviously, I advertise in a different way and I communicate in a different way, but I still use the same principles, which is why this video is going to be relevant for you as well. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section. And with that said, inshallah, you learn something new, you get a new perspective, and you do well or even do very well with your advertising in the future. That's it. Jazakallah khair and bye. Here's how I help my e-commerce businesses scale profitably using paid advertising in 2024. In this document, in this letter, I will show you what I focus on for my client portfolio whenever I onboard a new customer to make sure that that specific customer and myself is set up to actually succeed when it comes to paid advertising, in this case on paid social. And I will also show essentially show you how I help my partners manage their entire customer journey and not just set up the ads. E-commerce have become extremely competitive in recent years, which is why I'll be sharing my holistic approach with you here today. First and foremost, who am I? My name is Harun Ismail, and since 2022, I have been running my own marketing agency with a hyper-targeted focus on helping e-commerce brands grow, both nationally here in Denmark, but also internationally. Over the past 2 years, I have had the pleasure of working with 21 different e-commerce brands worldwide, spending a total of approximately 5 million Danish kroner of paid advertising for my client portfolio. And here are some of the brands that I have worked with, but also some brands that I still work with till this day today. Fodboldpakker.dk, Denmark's largest football travel agency. Fajr it's a Australian modest fashion brand. Anissa Hijab Fashion, a German modest fashion brand. Imperfect Points, a British ballet brand. Premium Tech, one of Norway's largest air fryer brands. Flisebørsen, Kuffer, Handsker, Netbriller, Active Wellness, Salam Nutritionals, Hill Ceramic, 360 Roadbooks, and more. Now, the primary concept that I want to talk about today is what I focus on for my clients before we start pushing our products on paid social. And you can kind of look at it as a needs of pyramid that you have to check off before you start spending your own capital on advertising your products on paid social. Now, first and foremost, what I look for is a strong offer with product market fit and an incredibly high perceived value. Secondly, what I do and what I look for is a scalable creative angle in our advertising. And thirdly, a solid funnel. Once all of these parameters are in place, you are in an excellent position to essentially profit from your paid advertising. And this is what I would recommend you to focus on before you start spending your own capital on ads. So let's break down step by step each element so you can gain a better understanding of each concept. First and foremost, we have step number 1, which is crafting a offer with product market fit and high perceived value. Now, here are the benefits of having a strong offer with product market fit and high perceived value. First and foremost, long term, you'll be able to reduce your customer acquisition cost. You'll be able to increase your quantity of conversions with simple but critical changes. You'll be able to scale your advertising front end, profit from first time customers instead of you having to rely on lifetime value retention, whatever it might be. And lastly, your competitors can't copy you because they fundamentally don't understand the core of your success. Now, here's the framework that I use for my partners to ensure that our offers have product market fit. First and foremost, niche. We need to be crystal clear on who we are helping. We need to be clear on the specific group, a specific target audience that we are helping solve a specific product, or essentially just be crystal clear on the target audience that we are helping. You can have an e-commerce store where you're not solving a specific problem, but you need to be crystal clear on who you are helping. Secondly, transformation, the transformation that you help your target audience achieve. This could also be your value proposition. Thirdly, price, the price that your niche is willing to pay for the transformation that you have and can offer them. Fourthly, the mechanism, the way in which you essentially fulfill the transformation you've promised to your target audience. And lastly, access channel, which is pretty much the method that you use to generate traffic and distribute your transformation to your niche. So as an example, for most e-commerce brands, this will be Meta and Google that they use to essentially acquire traffic to distribute their transformation. But for some e-commerce brands, it could pretty much also be TikTok or YouTube or Pinterest, whatever the case might be. But if you essentially align with all 5 elements, you will have an offer that is positioned for success because you have product market fit, you know who you're helping, you know the transformation that you are essentially helping them with, and you also know how much they are willing to pay. You have an understanding, or you are certain that you can deliver your transformation, and you have found a way to essentially generate traffic to distribute your transformation to your audience. So it's incredibly important that you nail all of these 5 steps. I can't tell you how many times that I have spoken to founders telling me that their previous agencies were just totally bad, but in reality they didn't have any product market fit. So doesn't really matter how much you spend on advertising. If you don't have product market fit, it's going to be impossible for you to actually, long-term and sustainably scale your advertising efforts. Now, here is the framework that I use for my partners to essentially ensure we have high perceived value on our offers, which is also really, really important. And for the most part, I use the value equation by Alex Hormozi. And essentially, if you can show your target audience that you can give them the exact dream desire that they so wish, and if you can show them with that you are the person or you are the brand that can essentially help them with that because the perceived likelihood of achievement is so high, that is essentially going to help the perceived value of your offers. And on the other hand, if you can essentially decrease the time delay and decrease the effort and sacrifice, that's also going to be amazing for the perceived value of your offers. I recommend that you essentially also have a look at what your competitors is doing, not to try and copy them, but in essence, you are competing against them. So if you have an understanding of what the parameters are in your specific industry or in your specific niche, you will also have an easier time to have offers with better product market fit and offers with a higher higher perceived value. So I recommend that you have a look, not to copy, but to understand where the parameter is at, so you can outcompete your competitors essentially. Now, lastly, for step number 1, it always varies from brand to brand depending on the product that you're selling. But in the case studies that I have on my challenge as of right now, you can see how I have done exactly this for a brand selling a high ticket product, which is tiles, and a brand selling a low ticket product, which is books. Those 2 case studies are up on my channel right now. You can see how I have used these exact principles to help those 2 companies scale through paid advertising. I also highly suggest that you subscribe because that is going to come many more case studies in the near future. Now, step number 2 is to develop a scalable creative angle in your advertising. And after finalizing our offers, I always brainstorm creative angles that can be used in our advertising efforts. Now, here are the benefits of having a strong creative angle in our advertising. First and foremost, our ads will resonate with our target audience a lot more, and as a result we will experience better CPC, CPM rates, increased CTR, and positive improvements in our hardcore KPIs such as cost per action, ROAS, POAS, whatever the case might be. And thirdly, Meta's algorithm will reward us with better ad placement in the feed because our ad encourages the user to stay on platform, and we are giving the user a great experience on the platform. So that's why Meta see us as an asset for them, because we help their users stay on platform, and thereby they will essentially reward us with better ad platforms on the app. Now, here is how I essentially help my partners brainstorm new angles for our advertising campaign. And based on in-depth market and customer research, I use AI as my personal creative strategist to develop angles that I can further filter and refine myself. Now, here's the primary parameters from my research that I use to prompt AI. First and foremost, everything about my ideal customer persona. And furthermore, my audience mass desire distilled into first principle thinking. So practically speaking, what is my core audience mass desire? Why are they purchasing my product? Yes, they probably have a need, but psychologically, that could also be another reason. Thirdly, my audience awareness stage. Fourthly, my audience level of sophistication. And fifth, my product. And by combining this research and AI, I can essentially create targeted, compelling creative angles that essentially connect with my audience a lot deeper and drive better results in our ad campaigns. And it's amazing that you can use AI for this, because otherwise you'll have to spend hours on end and try to essentially come up with creative angles yourself. But I also highly recommend that you use AI, essentially prompt it with all of the research that you have on your target audience and on your industry, and essentially use AI to give you infinite amounts of creative angles that you can use. Step number 3, a solid funnel. And after perfecting our offers and creative angle, the next step is to build a solid funnel for our advertising. Now, however, the importance of this step can vary depending on the size of the store or the e-commerce brand, but for smaller cases, this step can be skipped. But as you grow and as you scale the company, it's highly important that you essentially build out your funnel so you have an easier time to actually scale your advertising efforts and don't meet a glass ceiling where you feel like that you can't break through that specific glass ceiling. Now, here are the benefits of having a solid funnel. First and foremost, you will have a more structured customer journey, which burns fewer potential customers compared to the businesses that send cold traffic directly to their PDP or page. And secondly, you'll have essentially the ability to support your tabular funnel segment with the help of elements such as advertorials and listicles. Now, the most common approaches here is advertorials and listicles, and I essentially also recommend that you research the brands in your niche that are the largest and doing the best when it comes to advertising, and you'll probably see that those companies aren't just essentially sending cold traffic directly to their product pages. They probably have some form of advertorial listicles, pre-sale pages, specific landing pages, whatever it might be, to essentially warm the traffic and burn fewer potential customers compared to you sending cold traffic directly to your product page instead of actually taking the time to educate and nurture those prospects. Now, again, it depends a lot on the brand, but advertorials and listicles are extremely effective at introducing and educating a cold audience, reducing the risk of losing potential customers before they are fully engaged and before they fully understand your audience. Now, by focusing on building a solid funnel, you can essentially guide your customers through a more thoughtful journey that increases the likelihood of conversion and maximizes the effectiveness of your paid advertising funnel. Now, with that said, that was actually everything. I hope that you learned something new. And nonetheless, I highly recommend that you essentially take some time to understand if you have crafted an offer with product market fit and high perceived value. Also, take some time to refine your creative angle in your advertising and see if you can optimize your funnel even more than what you currently have done so far. So that's it. Thank you for watching. Make sure that you subscribe, like, and leave some feedback in the comment section, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.